Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I'm Patricia Wald-Hopkins, your host, and I have a very special guest today. This is a series that I'm doing for the Voices of Gaia for the lover archetype. And I'm doing a series of interviews with authors, co-authors that are a part of a book, a poetry book called Poems from the Heart by Radha Publishing House. And so I just really felt the connection between writing poems from the heart and the lover archetype of the Voices of Gaia. And so this will be a treat to weave these two things together. And I have a very special guest today, Emmanuel, and you pronounce your last name?
Emmanuel Itier.
Itier, yes. I wanted to make sure that I said that exactly correctly. So welcome and thank you for being a guest here today and open to sharing about your poetry and your journey as an artist. Before we get started, I would like to just share a little bit about Emmanuel. So I know that you have directed numerous films over the last 20 years. And you have also, I know that you write music, right? Songs for that you use in your documentaries. That's true, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's a lot of poetry, including in a lot of the documentaries that I direct, and they are turned in songs, and then I lay them on the beautiful images or word of inspiration that come from these documentaries.
Oh, beautiful. So I know you're a very experienced film producer, and you've directed several pictures. And are there any ones that you want to highlight here today?
Well, there are two that are important to me because they are related to Radha and her mother, Maya the shaman.
Oh, good.
In 2010, I did a ode, a love poem to women, and it's called Femme, Women Healing the World. So I traveled around the world, interviewed 400 really incredible women and gorgeous souls, including Maya, the shaman, the mother of Radha. And so after that, I was already friend with Radha, but we felt at the time it was better to put her mother in that movie. But then after that, I did another one called The Cure, Healing the Mind, Healing the Body, Healing the Planet. And that's when I asked Radha to be in that movie and to speak about healing and the cure within. And actually, her mother is as well in that movie. So, we had a longer friendship for many years. I say probably close to now 15 or 18 years at least.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful.
And you can find all my movies on iTunes, or you just Google my name and find me. And if you cannot find me online, I send you a link.
Yes, I'll make sure that I include some of that information and when I publish the podcast, so people can definitely find your work. Yeah, that I didn't know the extent of your relationship or the amount of years that you had known Radha and her family. So that's really beautiful. I can feel the specialness of that relationship, and I'm curious. What called you to participate in this poetry book by Radha Publishing House, The Poems from the Heart?
Well, what's funny is I think we had never talked about me being a poet, which is for a long time. I mean, I started at 15 when I had some type of revelation in a class of math, and my brain, instead of understanding the formula I was looking at on the blackboard, turned that into a poem. And then that same night, I dreamt the poem in vivid images, and I realized I wanted to become a filmmaker. So that's all it started, and I've never stopped since that. So I accumulated tons of poetry, both in English and in French. First in French, and then when I moved to the US in '88, within a few years, I was able to master the language and start thinking and dreaming in English. And so, I started to write as well poems in English. But I don't know. We never talked about it with Radha. And then I think it was kind of serendipity when she was putting together that book. And I said, oh, by the way, I don't know if you knew, but I write poetry from time to time. Right now, I write much less than I used to. I'm 57, so I probably work pretty constantly on a regular basis until my mid 40s, and then I was happily married, and with a state of happiness. For some reason, the soul doesn't cry as much and whine
Mm,
as much, and so
mm,
I think poetry comes from a place where you've got really an existentialist fracture within, and you have to get rid of it, and so until basically a year ago, everything was fine. And then I found out my ex-wife had an affair, and we went into a horrible divorce procedure.
mm,
So now it's done, and but there is a lot of pain,
mm.
and it's funny. I mean, it's funny. It's not funny, but I found that suddenly the voice within wanted to speak. So lately, I've been writing a little bit of poetry, and it's sad because obviously it's basically it's a testament to the last journey I had to face within the last year and a half, and
Mhm.
how now I have to find the power within to rebuild myself and heal, which is very difficult after 20 years of marriage and 3 kids. But
Wow.
but anyway, so I was talking with Radha when she put together that book, and I said, well, you know what? I do have some poem for you. Some of them were already published as songs because I used to manage rock bands and promote rock bands in Santa Barbara in the 90s, and
Hmm.
stay in contact with all of them. And I produced 3 albums, all inspired by my songs. And so now I'm using this song that I put in my documentaries. But when she proposed to publish a couple of my poems, I think I've got 3 in the book, Poem from the Heart. I
Hmm.
jump on the occasion. It's always I mean, obviously it's ego speaking, but yeah, you need ego to survive to a certain degree,
Yes.
because if not, you don't have the drive to move forward, and a sense of security that you can achieve anything, even so you know perfectly you can't achieve anything. But it's great to leave a trace of your presence on this planet, which is very short. So and it's also leaving something behind for my boys. Showing them, they're too young to appreciate poetry, but maybe one day they will discover them. I mean, now they listen from time to time to my songs in the car, and I mentioned I wrote it, so they seem to get it. But hopefully, when I pass, maybe they will rediscover a different type of dad that they didn't know, because I think we have 2 dads and 2 moms, the one that raise you and educate you, and sometimes it's a figure that you don't necessarily appreciate because there is a sense of
Hmm.
discipline and conducting, and so sometimes you appreciate your parents much later on in life, when you realize how difficult it is to live life, and to raise children, and to make a living.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Wow. I can feel the depth of the wisdom that you hold in your heart. And
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you sharing your story here with us, and that you have taken that and created beauty from it in through your poetry and sharing your voice. I just want to take a moment to honor you for that and celebrate you um, for offering that to others, right? So that we can all not get stuck in the past.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a thing. It's very hard because, as you know, we carry traumas since childhood,
Yes.
and good and bad. There can be some joy and some ugliness, and so indeed, it's not necessarily easy to construct a strong presence within that's going to contain the dark side, the beast within, and keep it on a short list, and focus on the light and what makes you a great woman or a great man. And I think it's very difficult to balance that, and I think that's why a lot of people have a tough time, especially we're always talking about the midlife crisis. And
Hmm.
we all hit a point, usually mid 40s, sometime earlier,
Right.
sometime later, where, if we haven't managed to find that peace within, we're going to snap, and we're going to be capable of abominable things such as, drugs, alcohol, leaving your spouse, being abusive, all type of things. Everybody manifests the fracture within in a different way. So it's important to always keep an eye on the rear mirror, but not be too obsessed and focus on it, but know it's there, and you have to carry on. And then again, live a life that's led by dreams, by visions. I,
Hmm.
I always say you're born with a fate and you die with a destiny. And by what I mean with that is that you don't really decide of who you are. You are these creatures, and you have to deal with it. Your sex, your religion, your intelligence, your social environment, the country you live in. But definitely, as you grow up, you realize, oh wow, I'm going on the path of a destiny, of a destination, and I'm a little bit in charge. I don't think we are all in
Hmm.
charge with our destiny, because obviously we are an assemble of molecules. Quantum physics shows that we are all intertwined molecules, and so therefore we are pushed against each other. We clash with each other, whether we see it or we don't. And it's on the thought level, it's on the molecular level, and therefore, even so, you can formulate thought and a drive for you. You're not gonna get necessarily what you wish for. But
Hmm.
it's better to wish for something because there is a drive than to stay on the couch and be stoned and watch stupidly TV. That's for sure. No
Right.
miracle, no miracle happen if you are passive. You have to be proactive all the time. And
I
it's
love
so
that.
and it's tough because again we live in a society that try to put you in a box that's very racist, segregationist, especially right now. Look at how divided the world is with
Hmm.
religion, gender, with politics. It's awful. We have never lived in a world, I think, so ununited. It's a disunited of United States right now. It's something in France, something in the UK. Look at the riots as we speak happening tonight. It's awful. So it's tough. Bottom line, it's not a smooth ride. It's not an easy ride, and people who tell you otherwise are just liars. And it's sad because it's better waking up and start finding yourself and working on yourself at an early age than in your mid to late 50s when you fell apart and you have to rebuild from scratch. Trust me, it's not easy.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm 53 now, and I've been through some things that we're humans, right? Humanity, and that's one of the characteristics, or the gifts of the lover archetype, is honoring that humanity within ourselves, to move beyond that turbulence and to just be present with compassion with one another, and like in all that we have to, especially with ourselves, right? Because we go through so much.
Yeah.
We go through so much, and if we can just be there with one another, not in that place of judgment, but just holding that field of compassion, I think we have a better chance of not sitting on the couch passively numbing out, right?
Well,
Showing up.
basically, we have to realize that the saying "me, myself, and I" is another big lie that was put in our head. It's all about me, myself, and we. I
Me.
am because we are.
Yeah.
That's what I learned from a very famous Nobel Peace Laureate named Desmond Tutu, who passed away, but he used to be the fighting companion of Mandela in South Africa. And I went to interview him because the first movie I did was on the notion of oneness. And I went all the way to Cape Town and to interview him. And he was interesting because at one point we were talking about the notion of oneness. And he said, I am because we are. And it's true, the we include the I. The I rarely think about the we. And again, the reality on a quantum physics level, but also spiritually speaking, and spiritual come from spirit, espiritu in Latin, which means the breath. So it's everything breathe to each other, all this energy, molecular wise, thought wise, that is an ensemble. We are part of an ensemble. So you need to come to the realization you cannot live without the others. Sartre said the others are hell. No, the others are paradise. They are the gateway to your own divinity and to the heavens.
Right.
You cannot live on your own. No man is an island. No woman is an island. If you do that, you're gonna just fall within, and you're gonna die within. It's guaranteed. You're gonna dry. You need to be fed by everybody else's energies, love, compassion, as you said. If you look at all the monsters in history, it's always the case. Whether it's a spouse leaving their husband or wife, or a monster like a Hitler or whatever, or even Donald Trump. It's all people who have been broken and abused, and they cannot fix themselves. And because their environment is equally toxic, because this type of people, misery, love, company, as I say, this type of people just can live with other miserable creatures. So it's a vicious circle. They cannot get out. They cannot grow. They cannot be saved. They cannot be healed. And a lot of them, on top of that, refuse to go in therapy to talk about it because they are in denial. They really think they are right, and the other side is wrong. Yeah. But in life, there is no truly right and wrong. It's a very gray zone. We are right and wrong to a certain point. Obviously, if you slap somebody, that's wrong. There is no excuse about that. But if you are in a couple and there's a problem of communication, well, it's a gray zone. It's like, okay, what's going on? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Am I of support enough to you? I'm not. A lot of that is really finding a fair compromise. But again, because we are raised in a society that tell you, me, myself, and I, you're the center of the world, you're the superwoman, you're the superman. So you grow up with that complex of superiority, and you end up not listening at the others. And if you don't listen at the others, you're going to end up in a mind jail. And it will be very difficult for you to function as a happy, balanced, normal being. Actually, this type of people usually end up with a very small circle of as equally toxic people, and nothing really happens because nobody wants to deal with them. They are what we call the cuckoos, the unmanageable, it's sad, the misfits of society, and so it's we are 7 billion people. 8 billion. I forgot how many. 8 to 9 billion. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Who can count anyway? With all the migration because of the weather, because of horrible laws in certain countries and war. I mean, who knows how many we are? But for sure, there is a strong portion of humanity that has been abandoned, that has been mentally raped, and it's explained why it's such an unstable planet. It's so chaos like, and so it's for us, the one who are a little bit more sane. And again, Freud said we're all insane. Only degree of insanity separate us from each other. So don't think you're sane. No, you are insane, but maybe a bit less than the other because you have started a process of healing yourself and trying to to be of service, to really figure out how can this puzzle of 8 billion souls work. And it should work because everybody is a unique prototype. Everybody has unique attribute, a unique intelligence that cannot compete with
Mm-hmm.
others. So it's all about being in partnership, in complementarity. There is no competition. Again, that's another sad thing that they put in our head when we go to school and like, compete, be the winner, be the number one. And I mean, even when you watch the Olympic, you want to be the number one, and you don't think about all the others behind who work as hard and who are not number one, and we're gonna be forgotten, and it's terrible. So again, there's nothing wrong about being number one, but if you are, don't forget about the others because they are the one carrying you. I always say that to my billionaires who are making fun because I'm broke. I'm like, yeah, I'm broke because you're rich. I say, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm one of your consumer. So without me, you wouldn't be there. So you just got lucky to have a lot of me and find the right product that you mass produce. And you have a lot of people like me that are forced to buy your product. And that's why you're rich. But without me, you're nothing. And vice versa. So we're all customers of each other. We all need each other. And that's why we should really respect each other, love each other.
Yes.
There's no place for hate and fuck you on this planet.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I feel how passionate you are about.
These are words that needs to be banned. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I could go on talking to you about listening to your wisdom. I mean, it's just it's very engaging. And I want to make sure that I ask you this question because how do you channel all of that power and that passion into poetry? How did you do that? Like, what was your process and how are you supported by Radha's incubator?
Well, the Radha incubator comes from just talking. I think as long as you communicate what you need, somebody's going to say, hey, maybe I can help you. Like my poetry is very long. And she said, what can I trim it? And I'm like, okay, I love you. I trust you. Go for it. And I didn't even, she sent me what she had edited. And I'm like, okay, this is not totally what I was trying to do, but it's fine with me. And so now we have two versions of the same poem. It's okay. Again, it's about controlling your ego. It's about realizing, listen, if that lady is taking the time to tell you, to be accessible, you should trim down, you should maybe take off a few of these words that are a bit kind of swearing word. I'm like, fine, let's go for it. Absolutely. Now, how is a poem born? It's kind of fairly a digestion of the unconsciousness that emerges. It's at one point there is this boiling within, and you just feel agitated, and you had thoughts that suddenly got organized in rhymes. Some people don't do that; they write a narration. I do that as well because I write screenplays. But for a poem, it's really like you vomit it on the computer screen. You type it, and it's like, and then you try to polish it. I tend to better create when there is music around me, and it can be all type of music except rap and heavy metal. Rap because I'm not really that generation, and heavy metal because it's too distorting, it's too punching you in the so. But it can be some light pop, some sweet music, some jazz, some classical music. I wrote a lot of poetry under listening classical music like Chopin, for example, or Brahms, or even Wagner. That I don't know. That's something in me. So I think the process is sometimes a little bit different depending on the poet, but for sure it always comes from that agitation within, and you need to express all of that torment, all of that pain. The most boring poem are poem dealing with joy, and it's boring. I mean, what? Okay, you're happy, good for you. It's naive, it's cheesy. But the real poem are the one where you can see, wow, there's a soul that's looking for something, that's trying to find itself, and we can. I think we can. It's easy to understand the pain of the other, even if you're not compassionate, because you unconsciously have pain within no matter what, because again of your relationship or your job or financial problem, whatever. So you identify, I think, better to pain, and that's why dramas also in movies are so powerful, and horror in movies are so accessible for people, is because they identify to that. That's a fear within that needs to be exorcised, that needs to be put on the forefront of your being and dealt with. And with poetry, you really deal with your soul. You tell your soul, okay, you have an issue about this or that relationship. How are you going to fix it? So it doesn't mean that the poem ends up with a dark note. I see it in most of my poems. There is always a light at the end, even if it's one sentence or a word. So there is a wish of better myself, better my action, my doing, my being. I think that it's kind of a self-therapy in a sense, writing poetry. That some people write journals. I don't write journals. So I think we all have a way to let our talk soul to others and first to ourselves. To others, if you want to share it and publish it, or let people read your journal, which people don't do unless they go see a shrink. But with poetry, it's that. You talk to yourself first, you start the process of healing, and then you share it, and then people question you about it, and then a conversation is engaged. And in that conversation, it's a mind ping pong of the brain cell, where you're going to awaken in each other a new articulation, a new hope, a new light.
That's beautiful. Would you like to share one of your poems as we
yeah. So I'm going to take it from the book.
Yes.
About on Amazon, and people please support Radha's work and go get your book, whether on Amazon or you order it from her directly. So it's called Echoes of Your Presence. A lot of these poems are inspired by women. I'm French, I guess. What can I say? This one in particular, I don't remember for what woman it was, but they're all written for a woman if I was for a while with her, or inspired by a woman if maybe I wanted her and I could never communicate, because in spite of what you think, I'm a pretty shy guy. I'm not the type of guy that go in a bar and pick up a girl. I just don't know how to do that. So it's always been very hard for me to connect in that sense and pick up ladies. Usually the ladies pick me up more than I do pick them up. Anyway, echoes of your presence. Under the rain, I have waited for the moment it all dissipates, to feel the warmth of home. Let my death wash away the pain. Dreaming beneath Mars' glow, for the moment it all unfolds, to banish every fear. Let my life guide you past the stars. Like a desperate absence, a ghost of a romance, sealing fate, in a slow vertigo, drifting out of state. Meaning in this nonsense, an eternal cosmic dance. Under the sheets I have lingered, for the moment solitude fades, to erase the ache of loneliness. Let my death vanish in the street. Dreaming within your embrace, for the moment our worlds align, for the feeling of belonging. Let my life lead you into dreams. Like a desperate absence, an end of century chance, memories of burning desires in a slow vertigo or love untamed. Like a shadow of incense, an eternal cosmic dance.
Wow. It's beautiful.
My pleasure. Go get the book.
Beautiful images. Yes. But I also like when you're speaking, I really can visualize it. So I can see how you can create art from your poetry, visual art, and movies. That's really a talent.
Thank you.
That you have. And I so appreciate you spending time with us and the community here today to talk about your personal journey and to share your poem. And I would like to ask you if you have one more pearl of wisdom or something that you feel is really important to share with others about, this healing the heart, right? And keeping it open.
Well, I think it's a combination of the old Latin philosophy and the philosophy of action of the USA for me. It's building that bridge between the mind, the body, and the world. And I always say, I think, therefore I am. That's the old Descartes philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore I do. So that's the Nike just do it philosophy. And I think it's really important to, again, think yourself. What are you made for on this planet? And think deeply. Look at your attributes, your skills, your passions, because that's going to help you putting this thought into action, and not only a vain action, a being that is really driven by the internal passion that he or she has. Again, it's not simple to find that voice that's gonna carry you no matter what the ups and downs for the next 70, 80, 90 years. If you don't find that voice, it's gonna be hard to keep riding the horse, the seahorse through the ocean. So again, spend time every day. Am I truly happy with what I'm doing? I'm a doctor. Is it me? I'm a mechanic. Is it me? I'm a poet. Is it me? What are you? Question yourself. And it's not about doubting. It's a big difference. It's not about doubting. It's about questioning, because the world is in constant evolution.
Right.
It evolves.
Yeah.
It expands.
Always changing.
So you have to adapt. Look, now we are entering a new age of AI, and it's frightening to me. Right now I'm doing a translation from English to French, and it's taking me much less time because as a coward, I'm using AI, and sometimes I'm frightened by AI, because I know that what it does is that it starts thinking for me, and if I stop thinking and working hard on me, who's going to do the job with myself? I'm just going to become that zombie. So it's again, it's about that. Never lose the focus on yourself, and always know your part, as you said, of a community. It's one people, one planet, one universe, one beyond. There is no separation. So that's why you can reach out. That's why you can be saved. And you can, once saved, you can do the saving yourself. What goes around comes around. We are all master and students of each other. I'm a genius a few minutes talking with you, and then I go back at being an idiot. So, and it's fine. You need to let the soul drift in the universe. You cannot be always in charge of your thoughts, or it's going to drive you insane, and you're going to become this person nobody wants to be around, because you're so arrogant and superior and vain. So it's balance. It's the yin and the yang. It's the dark and the light. It's life and death, and keep going on. Einstein said, nothing is born, nothing dies, everything is transformed. So it's about that. It's about allowing the transformation within, and then allowing the transformation, period. You die, your molecules make one with what is that existence. Who knows? Is there intelligence beyond? Are you going to remember yourself? Are you going to meet God and the angel and your parents? Who knows? It's all open. It's all open for faith, and faith comes from fidere in Latin, which means to trust. So you really, it's all about building that trust within and without, with each other, that no matter what, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Thank you for that. That's beautiful. Yeah. I really just want to close and say that this community, sharing in community like this and doing collaborative book projects, it really helps to open up that heart and that heart field that actually gives us life, that heartbeat that we share, and the heartbeat we share with Mother Earth and beyond really keeps us alive and thriving. And thank you for being a voice for that.
Thank you.
So needed.
Thank you, because without you, you stimulated all these words. I didn't pre-think these words. They come because you know to push what button in my brains, and so
It's
without
been
you,
a
I'm
beautiful
nothing.
conversation. So I just want to let everybody know that I will have information on how to connect with Emmanuel's work. And let's just, keep the conversations going, those heart conversations, and using poetry to express what sometimes is so difficult to share in, a conversation, a
Absolutely.
digestible conversation. So please check out Poems from the Heart and all the other wonderful publications by Radha Publishing House. I know that I have so enjoyed being part of the work with her as well. Yep, there it
Buy
is.
the book. Buy the
Yes, the
book.
beautiful cover too, that artwork. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. We'll see you next time. Much love.
Thank you. Much love.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com, and you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Hi. I'm dropping in here with an announcement about a program, a new mentorship that I am offering. It's called Voices of Gaia, and it's about bringing your voice, your leadership, your life in alignment with Gaia's guidance. So if you feel called to learn more about this program, it's a beautiful, rich program where we dive into your essence, and if you so desire, we develop your business around it and really blossom into your whole lifestyle, this wisdom from Gaia that wants to be spoken through you. So if you feel called, reach out to me at patriciawaldhopkins.com. That's patriciawaldhopkins.com. There's no hyphen between Wald and Hopkins. And I would just love to hear from you and see if this is a good fit. So thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.